and say, hey, why you not accountable for who it is that you decided to open up your legs to?
Bullshit.
Because we ain't having that conversation. The only thing we saying is, oh, that's a bitch ass nigga. But you opened up your legs to him. He wasn't a bitch ass nigga when you had sex with him.
He might have been.
When you know. But my point is
What's up, my people? It's your boy Pretty Boy Jay, and I've got an interesting story we've got to talk about involving a panel of individuals with Anton in there debating on why dating a single mom and being a stepdad is a terrible idea and holding single moms accountable. Shout out to them. I'm going to leave the full interview link in the description. You can check that out later. But if you are new here, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and let's get cooking.
So some men can raise another man's child because the real father ain't a lion. He's more like a gazelle. You know what I'm saying? The lion is now here. And I believe, I believe in God and I believe in everything is a reason, right?
Right.
And like my dad is a bitch ass nigga. My step pops, he ain't playing. You feel me? So like I was already one that wasn't playing coming out the woodworks. Yeah. So then if my dad was there, hypothetically, I would probably clash with him because he was already soft. You know what I'm saying? And I don't believe that just because you gave birth to something means that you are the best one to raise that.
Come on, let's talk about
that person that you gave birth to, whether you're a man or a woman.
So you believe nurture versus nature?
Yes.
Nurturing that child is more important than possibly more important than nature.
I believe that nature.
Absolutely.
See, here's the thing: we get so confused about nature as if you are the only one of this child. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 generations of nature within this child that you ain't exuding yet. You remember the Punnett Square? In the Punnett Square, you had a 1 in 4 chance of being something.
Yes.
Right. So this child can have the bottom right quadrant, and you might have top left. Yeah. You ain't fit to build. To raise that child. To be honest. So maybe somebody else who is in that bottom right quadrant is going to be able to understand that man or that young woman or that young boy. And really help them grow into what they need to be.
So you would advise your son to get with a woman that already have children.
If that
children, you would be okay with that? Children, remove yourself.
I don't think nobody advises those scenarios for their children.
But see, the problem is that.
But sometimes it just happens because they just might be in love. You can't control
you can because marriage is a business first. It's a business first. We know statistics of what it is when men are where children are raised in certain type of household. We know what the statistics are, right? And so I'm not going to sit here and say a man isn't a man based off of some criteria that we make up, right? Because I use data. The reality is this: what we are doing is excusing bad behavior. And instead of us going to the mothers and say, hey, why you not accountable for who it is that you decided to open up your legs to?
Bullshit.
Because we ain't having that conversation. The only thing we saying is, oh, that's a bitch ass nigga. But you opened up your legs to him. He wasn't a bitch ass nigga when you had sex with him. He might have been. When you know. But my point is when we continue to do this, we validate bad behavior.
What is the bad behavior?
Because you're saying that you can recover from this, when in reality we know statistically that child has a much greater chance of going to jail, a much greater chance of needing therapy, a much greater chance of joining a gang. He has a much greater chance of being less successful. And instead of us saying, hey, hold that accountable so that this don't happen in the next generation.
I think I'm missing context. No. If what? If he has a much greater chance of doing all that, if what?
Let him cook.
It's a guy's responsibility to raise this child based off of a village concept or a community concept, or because he's a real man, removes the accountability from the woman of actually making sure that she picked the right guy and to marry before she carried in the first place.
So what happened? I married before I carried, and then I got a divorce. But that's not the norm.
Okay, but she actually kept herself in a good position to actually win, but unfortunately, it didn't go as planned. But I don't want us to go into why it didn't work out. That going down that rabbit hole, that could be for another day. But the bigger question here is, will you ever, as a guy, want your daughter to be giving birth to a bunch of kids with a bunch of guys? I know for a fact you're going to use the catchphrase, hell no. Personally, I'm not even going to wish that on my sister, talk less of my own daughter. So looking at it from that perspective, let me know what you guys think, man.
Because what I see on Instagram and social media is people
I'm trying to figure out what we talking about.
What I see on Instagram and social media is when a woman get pregnant, regardless of whether she married, it's congratulations, sis.
Okay.
That's what I see.
I agree. Listen,
should we throw stones at her?
Absolutely.
Antoine, shut up. You do not do that.
You said that congratulating a woman, but if you want to throw accountability at anybody, throw it at the man that left the family.
It's a small
unit,
minority.
Right?
It's a small percentage of men that's having a majority of the children. Most black men are not having children out of wedlock. That is a falsehood. And so when we sit here, when we want to solve for a problem, we solve for the majority, not the minority. And when you look at the statistics, most black men are not having children out of wedlock. It's a small minority of men that's having a majority of the children with a whole lot of women.
Is that you got that from a
how do a woman have a child without a wedlock without the man too?
What I'm saying is, if we got 99% of the men, and we said we're gonna hold all of them accountable.
No, I'm saying like if the woman had the child at wedlock, she didn't have it by herself.
I'm explaining.
So did he.
If we got 99% of men to do the right thing, it takes 1% of men to populate the majority of the women.
True indeed.
So even if you hold all men accountable, it doesn't solve for the problem.
No, it's not about all men. It's about holding everybody accountable.
We do, but men by default are automatically held accountable.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many instances I could cite on here to back what Anton is actually saying. Majority of the time, I mean, I'm not making excuses or any exceptions, but we are looking at statistics over here and stories that we hear most of the time, where women actually weaponize, the kids against the men, and men have to go through the court system to actually get to see their kids. But on the other hand, too, sometimes it may be that the guys are not responsible, or living a type of life where the mom feels like, no, I don't want this type of life around this kid. So, you know what? I'm out of here with the kid. And there are some instances also where the dad actually doesn't know he has a kid. You understand? Maybe the mom hid it from him due to the fact that she herself doesn't know if that is the actual kid or not. Probably she'll get to know out of a DNA test being with another guy, and the guy got to know that, yo, I'm actually taking care of something that is not mine. Then she has to, backtrack and be like, oh, okay, so then I think it's not yours, then it's for the other guy. And the guy will come in and be like, really, we had a kid and you never told me, like a whole bunch of drama stories.
Let me go back to this stepdad situation real fast, because I have a stepfather, right? Mm-hmm. But he didn't raise me. My grandfather raised me, mm-hmm. right? So I didn't personalize my stepfather because that's who my mom is married to.
Yeah, that's who your mom chose.
That's her relationship. I have examples around me that mm-hmm. I don't have to look towards him. His only job, honestly, for me, is just to be example of a good person, a human being, period. Right. I don't need him to be my father. I don't even need for none of that shit, mm-hmm. right? It's just simply just be a good dude, treat my mom good. And I mean, I don't care what y'all going through. Y'all not being physical,
how old were
fine.
you when he came into your life?
I was in middle school, so that's what, like,
you was
12.
already big.
Well, I was big because I'm 6'5", bro. I've been big.
No, I'm saying you were older as a kid. You had already
middle schooler
was in you.
No, but what I'm saying is.
No, wait. I know. Listen. What's
happening here?
Okay,
well, I mean, he's 11 years old. All
right, cool. All right, let's reset. Mm-hmm. All right. So one of the facts that you gave is in regards to children that statistically messing up more so. That usually comes from a single mother household, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So if we take the conversation to it being a two-parent
single mother household. So when I say two-parent household, I'm saying married, having children, raising those children.
Cool. So let's take it to a two-parent household where one parent is a step-parent. Mm-hmm. That's still a two-parent household, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same.
You don't think so?
And I personally, again, I would never advise a guy, if this guy is single, he's taking care of business, he don't have no children or nothing like that. I'm not going to sit here in good conscience and tell this man that he's supposed to get with a single mother. Absolutely not.
And that's
100%.
Cool. But there's so many single fathers that get with single mothers. So many single fathers.
So are we just speaking about the men who don't have children? Is that the reference? Or are you saying just all men?
Because I understand the men that doesn't have children, but there's so many single fathers that look towards.
I mean, like I said, the majority of men don't have children on the wedlock.
Okay. All right. So if you're a single dad and you want to be with a single mom, it's within reason. I'm just saying, to me, if the kids are already grown and maybe graduating into the universities or coming out from the universities and all that, because they're already grown, best of the same feathers, right? So that is within reason to me. But what Anton is trying to put out here is the fact that you're a single guy, you have the earning potential, you're doing good for yourself, and you are not a dad, I mean, such a guy is of high, demand. So I don't see why you should go in for a single mom. You get my point? I think that's what Anton is trying to say. But anyway, let me know what you think.
Hey, where are you living? Right? We're living in America, and 1 out of every 4 kids are born with a single parent.
Yeah.
Or raised with a single parent, right? And the rest of the world, it's at an 8%. So we're about 3 to 4 times more likely to have a child be raised out of wedlock or with only one parent, right? So when you look at the numerics, you're more likely than not to run, if you're a guy who doesn't have any kids, you're more likely than not, depending on your age, to run into a woman that has a kid, right? So I don't think we're advising anybody, hey, I advise you to go find a woman that has a kid with another man.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that the offer's not on the table depending on her behavior. Now, if she has 3, 4, 5 baby fathers, I would never advise that, right? Sorry to those women. But if you have one man you had one man and now you have one child with that man, or maybe even 2, and that's something that you want to tie up your boots and walk in the path you want to walk down,
crazy.
I would say go ahead.
But that's why I brought up single fathers, because when you see a
crazy.
woman that is a single mother,
Yeah.
that child has a father,
Yeah.
right? Who's a single father? Like, are we not putting those two things
I
together?
got a question for you. So say you got your son, right? You going by your principles. You don't want him to date a young lady that has a child or whatever, right? So what if he do anyway?
What do you mean, what if he do?
So, okay, so this actually is a perfect example. My dad feels like you. My dad, he used to always tell my brother, you are a first round draft pick. You don't have no kids. I bought you a brand new car. You just moved to a new city. I put you some money in the account. Like, you a first round draft pick. You pick you somebody that, da-da-da. When I was younger, I used to be like, Dad, that's such a fucked up way to say things. And I don't necessarily align with the way that you're delivering it, but I can see, as someone that is active in step parenting and understand the difficulties of it, I can understand the foundation of the message. I do think that people can find love in multiple places, but I do think that when you have a prepackaged family, it can be a little bit rougher at times to, figure out getting through situations, or even
It's hard to figure out situations when you're with your husband.
honestly.
When you have kids with your husband,
Honestly.
it's hard to figure out situations then too.
Yeah.
When you have family members coming from both sides and then putting this and that, that's a difficult situation. They're all difficult situations.
For me, I think the difficulty sometimes that I might have, and this is honestly just me being vulnerable.
Yeah.
The difficulties that I see sometimes in being a bonus parent is, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're not going to ever be their parent.
Right.
So sometimes it's like, okay, like, for example, the baby is homeschooled. I want all 3 of the kids to be homeschooled because I feel like that would be best. That's not my call.
Right.
As difficult as that is sometimes for me just to swallow, sometimes I really want to just have the conversation of, yo, we should just make this shift, But that's not my call because I'm just the bonus mom.
Right.
I can understand the wanting to protect, your child from,
I'm sorry, but with that same example, say you had all 3 with your husband and your husband is firmly against homeschooling and you're not, wouldn't you
that would be
run into that same situation?
Yeah, but fortunately, before me and him had Chan, that's stuff that we talked about.
Right.
And we discussed that. So, but that definitely would be a hard thing if we weren't aligned in that space. Absolutely.
It's a blueprint for what success looks like when it comes to, yes, it is. Listen,
isn't.
I got 3 brothers.
Okay.
All of us is married. None of us ever been divorced. 9 uncles on my mother's side. None of them have ever been divorced.
Good.
No children ever been raised out of wedlock. There is a blueprint.
For your family, that worked very well.
That's called a blessing.
There is it's called being intentional.
Facts.
It's called, and let me tell you something. Even scripturally, and we raise our kids based off of the scriptures. When you put it in them young, it never departs from them. Even if you allow for them to fail in controlled environments, they never depart from it. They always come back to the thing that you put into them when they're young. And so for us to sit here and have this conversation would basically tell me that y'all just believe differently than me. because what we're
different
doing,
people.
and that's fair.
No, everybody
but
believes
what I'm saying
differently.
what I'm saying is everything that I hear communicated right now is a remix. America is this. No, there is a fundamental way, and other cultures even understand it, that's not even having as many options as us. There's a fundamental way that you go about being successfully married, being successfully able to raise your children, so on and so forth. And we've departed from that, and we keep remixing it and saying, well, it's okay for you to go out there, fail, create a whole nother family, come back, and then you able to redeem yourself. That's not the conversation that we should be having. Instead, we should be having a conversation based off of proactively preventing ourselves from even getting in this situation in the first place. But instead, we keep remixing and expecting our children to not pay for the sins of their fathers and their mothers. Our children are nothing more than a reflection of the failures of the people that came before them. That's it.
Yikes.
So when I said earlier, when I said in a different show that I'm the man that I would want my daughter to marry, it's a reason for that. I don't make sacrifices, or I don't come into this whole situation looking to apologize. I'm looking to validate. I'm looking to remove every excuse that you have from being able to not make the right decision. And you often at times make the right decision every time because you are going to be a reflection of what me and your mother put into you. That's it.
All right, guys. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about all this. I mean, modern women now are wilding, you know, because giving birth to a bunch of kids with a bunch of guys, I don't know where that culture came from, but it's really, you know, tearing the fabric of, you know, our society, you understand? But anyway, let me know. But before I sign out, I'm going to put up a Twitter post up here, and I want you guys to read it for yourself. I mean, pause the video to that post, read it for yourself, and then let me know what you think about this information, if you relate with it. Now tell me how you feel about this information. Let me know in the comment section, right? Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.